What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. The Yankees swept the worst team in baseball. Scott, I'm not going to lie. So, going from that Astros series, which was freaking wild, was like going to an action movie. And then this Oakland series, despite it being another sweep, with 2 comeback wins and a nail biter in the middle of it, I don't know. That's like going to a romantic comedy. That's just like an hour 45 of just like la di da. It did not have the same intensity for me.
Well, it definitely didn't have the same intensity, but they did put the comeback kids hat back on and did what they needed to do. But to be honest, it just felt like that was going to happen anyway. Like it was going to happen. Even when they went down, I was like, they'll be okay. They'll come back. They'll get back in this game. Oakland's trash. And they will shut their team down a little bit. We hit the over. We hit the over on Monday. That's something. By a lot. Wasn't expecting Oakland to score.
Thanks
5,
to some catcher's interference.
Hey, however you're gonna get it, it's fine. The Yankees still put up a 9 spot. That's something.
The runs still count, and the money is still green.
I had a feeling that day there was going to be a lot of runs put up just because of the staying at home, Oakland coming in after that Houston series with some weird shit going down. Yankees offense was going to take advantage of it. And they did.
Logan just put in our chat that the Yankees magic number is 75. What's the earliest you think a team has started counting magic numbers? It might be right around now.
75.
Right around now. We'll be tracking the Yankees magic number. Yeah, you know what this series reminded me of? It reminded me of when the Yankees mopped the floor with the Orioles back in 2019. And even when they would go down early in a game to Baltimore, we knew it didn't matter. They could be down 4-0 in the 3rd inning, and they were going to come back because Baltimore back then was absolute trash. We knew their pitching staff eventually would give it up. And that's what happened with this week against Oakland. It's that even when because the Yankees didn't play great, right? Like especially the starting rotation. Montgomery and Taillon specifically. JP Sears was fantastic. But Monty and Taillon did not put the Yankees in good position to win. But the bats bailed them out. And that's what it felt. It's like you just knew, like you said, eventually they're going to get to Oakland because Oakland is no longer trying to win baseball games.
Well, it doesn't matter if they're trying to win baseball games or not. They're just not a good baseball team. So whether they try really, really hard or they just go out there and go through the motions, they're still a bad baseball team. But they have some little sparks here and there. But no, yeah, I felt full confidence. JP Sears was very impressive. That was fun to watch him go out there and throw the way he does, man. I mean, he's another one of these guys who has just a very interesting look when he's out there and gave them a hard time. So he's interesting. I'm curious to see how he does the rest of the year. Back in AAA, he's gonna continue to build up, get better and better. But he's gonna be used. They're gonna see him, and I think after the All-Star break, after the trade deadline, we're gonna start to see him. Domingo Germán coming back. I'm interested to see how they start sprinkling in more of these arms into the rotation to get some guys days off and some innings off to rest those arms as the season goes on.
We're gonna dive into some starting pitching comparisons over the past month plus. But because the Yankee starters have been struggling recently, it's an easier case to make to skip starts and maybe rest them or something like that, to get Sears a start, to get Domingo Germán a start when he comes back, or just spot start guys, because it would have been a lot harder of a case to make if the Yankees were pitching like they were throughout May and everyone was going into the 7th inning with a freaking no-hitter. You're like, well, why are you going to mess with that? But right now what we've seen a lot of bad starts recently, and so if you're gonna make some spot starts, at least you're not gonna upset anyone doing it, because what we're seeing has not been great.
This team has embraced the day off with they were talking about that the other day on the broadcast, but they really have. They've embraced the day off with the position player side, and on the pitching side, I think that if that's a cultural thing inside the clubhouse that Boone has and the coaching staff has really started to lay out there, hey, we need to keep you guys healthy. This team is special. We need to make sure that you guys are on the field in August, September, October. This is the most important thing. We have enough depth, enough continuity throughout the roster that we can do this. So, just trust to use a terrible phrase that's been overused 1,000 times for different cities. Trust the process. Make sure that you guys are doing these things. The pitching staff's going to, if they haven't already, really adopt that same thing, because I think we're going to see it a lot in probably August. August feels like a month that you could start tinkering and saving some guys. It's hot as shit.
Why not do it now, though? You might need to do it right now.
Well, they are doing it a little bit, but I could see it happening more in August, because you don't want to do it too late this season, because then you risk a guy not being sharp for when the postseason comes around. So August is one of those months that it's just humid as all hell in many different places. It's the hottest time of the year. And
swamp
good time
ass,
to rest some
swamp
some
ass
dudes.
about
Swamp ass.
No, but so
wet and dry reps. Get some AAA kids up here and give the guys some reps.
They're in the middle of the reason that they did the start with JP Sears is because they've been in this long stretch with no off days, but they do have an off day on July 4th, which is obviously weird. And then they have another off day on
John Sterling's birthday and George Steinbrenner.
That's right. Then they have an off day on July 11th, and obviously then the next week is the All-Star break, and then they have an off day on July 25th. They're pretty much they're off every Monday in July. So you don't need to even necessarily build in that extra starter for July. So you might be right about waiting until August to do it, but they do have 3 off days in August as well. So I almost feel like this stretch in June was the time to do it, where you had no off days.
They're gonna look at, we'll see. I think in August, pitch count, inning count, going to be more of a topic of conversation, because we're seeing where they are beyond the midway point, and I feel like that's when that inventory starts getting counted, and the AAA season would be winding down sooner. So you're looking at who's got the availabilities for coming up and skipping some starts, but we'll see.
You also,
and obviously all of this depends on what happens at the trade deadline too, and if Cashman goes out there and finds another arm that's a contributor in the rotation, where is he making moves? All of this will be affected.
I mean, you're also kind of getting a little bit of innings management with how the guys have just not been pitching as well, so they're not going as deep into games over the past month.
Hey, look at you! You flipping this negative into a positive?
I'm trying. We're reversing roles here.
Wow. Yeah. No, load management. Just suck for a month. Don't do as well. It's not like terrible, but don't do as well for a month.
This is a designed
and
suck.
Then you get some innings off. This is a designed suckage time.
Matt Blake,
even though they're gaining games in the division still. I just looked to get another quick check at this. It's ridiculous to look at, but 13 games up on the Blue Jays. Watch out for those Orioles, man. They're creeping. They're playing some good baseball. They're damn close to 500. They're 6 games under 500. That's great.
That's a wildly successful season for them.
Yeah.
Didn't they also compete?
Kid Adley Rutschman, their new catcher, starting to hit. He's they're good for them.
Didn't they kind of compete in 2020 in the COVID season? Didn't they have I don't think they were 500, but they weren't a complete loss in the COVID season. So, they've.
I don't remember where the Orioles finished in 2020.
You don't. That's not top of knowledge for you.
No, it's not. No, that whole year is just like a black mark.
Yeah. So I mean, this was certainly a good series for comebacks. I was worried in that Monday game when they were losing 5-1 and Montgomery was getting hit around. I was like, oh boy, there was a letdown after that Houston series. Not only am I feeling it watching this game, but the team is feeling it. And it wasn't until that rally, which, listen to this rally. 7th inning, 6-run rally. DJ walk. Judge reaches on catcher's interference. Rizzo is hit by a pitch. Stanton reaches on catcher's interference. Donaldson double. Trevino 2-out double. Marwin Gonzalez single. That was the Yankees rally. To top off this rally, or not to top off the rally, but just a fun thread throughout this rally, Joey Gallo made the first and third out of the inning, and Aaron Hicks made the second out of the inning.
I will participate in the Joey Gallo slander. I will not participate in any Aaron Hicks slander at this point, because
he's been great.
He's been very good. The word great. The word great.
Expectations. You always talk about expectations.
What did Michael K say? What did Michael K say? Was it last year or the year before?
Outstanding.
Outstanding. Oh yeah, it was Jameson Taillon.
It was Taillon's 4-inning start. It was outstanding.
Right, outstanding. And you shit on that, and then you got destroyed on Twitter for saying for calling him out for saying outstanding. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Aaron Hicks has been outstanding. Outstanding. But Joey Gallo, still a dumpster fire.
Yeah. I forget the exact numbers in the middle of like some god awful stretch where it's like one for 20 something or whatever. It's just
I love all of the Joey Gallo supporters that like pop up and start like coming.
Those still exist.
I had a couple of them.
No one exists right now.
Oh yeah, I had a couple of them. No, it only exists when he hits a home run once every 3 weeks. And they'll come up, sort of
this is the moment.
Calling out a tweet that this is it. He's
that
back.
Didn't age well.
Yeah. Dumbass. I mean, it's just a bad story, man. You look at this thing, I don't see how I don't know how that guy could possibly. He almost takes out Aaron Hicks in right field the other night. Aaron Hicks is clearly calling the ball. Gallo is just saying nothing and bowls him, right into him.
What are they waiting
Aaron
for?
Hicks is don't do.
What
that.
are they waiting for just not playing him anymore?
More depth in the outfield? I don't know. He's an outfielder and a 9-hitter.
Yeah, but the reason is they're not losing. So when the team is winning, still, you can live with a non-factor in the 9-hole. Like if you just take that for face value, our number 9 hitter can't hit, but we have the best record in baseball. Fine, whatever. But, I mean, eventually push is going to come to shove. I don't know if it's going to be the trade deadline. I keep thinking anyone it's a pipe dream if you think you're going to be offloading Joey Gallo for anything. Fine, whatever. There will be a moment where you actually have to make a decision here and decide if you're going to cut bait.
So I'm really enjoying Yankee fans on Reddit. I've been talking about that a little bit this year, but it's kind of like my new place where I go and just look to see what people are talking about. I think it's very funny and interesting. And first of all, two things. There was a thread the other day about someone just posted. He's like, go say something positive or say something about the New York Yankees, and then the guy who started the thread responded to any person saying anything as Carlos Beltran. As if he was Carlos Beltran. As if he was Carlos Beltran. It was hilarious. I spent a solid 10 minutes reading that entire thread because it was hilarious. And it was basically the same response, just packaged in a little different way. And it was hilarious.
Yes, you're right, Michael.
But there's also another.
Yes,
there was another.
Yes, you're right, Michael.
Yes. Oh, the Yankees they try to win baseball game. There was another thread in there also about a nice little comparison to our friend Joey Gallo, and it was almost a 1-to-1. It was scary, but our boy Chris Carter and Joey Gallo are basically eerie. Mirror images of each other. Those numbers
were eerie.
Yeah, and so all of the Joey Gallo supporters essentially have to be Chris Carter supporters.
It was June that year, I think, when they released Chris Carter.
Yes. We're coming up
on the anniversary.
We're coming up at the end of
the
June,
anniversary.
On the anniversary of
can
Chris Carter being
we get an anniversary celebration of the day they released Chris Carter?
Home Run King Chris Carter. Yeah.
Logan, I don't know if you were listening to our pod back in 2017, but Scott was so excited for the Chris Carter signing. They were bringing in the NL Home Run King. Like he was so excited.
This is how desperate we have been at first base. This is how desperate the Yankees have been at first base. Just anybody. Oh, Chris Carter, he hit 50 home runs in the National League. Yes.
I forgot.
It's going to be 75 at Yankee Stadium.
I forgot to mention this on last episode after the Astros series because there was so much to talk about. But I understand why Yes put Beltran in the booth for that Astros series, but I think it was a mistake because as mellow as Beltran normally has been, he just sounded downright depressed calling those games. Like any mention of the 2017 Astros, life was sucked out of him. And I understand, again, they were doing it because he was the fucking puppet master of the trash can scheme. But it just made him sad.
So that
it
actually
just made him sad.
When I saw that he was at that game and doing that series, I'm like, okay, I don't understand it. Yes is essentially trolling Carlos Beltran by putting him in.
But it's
they're putting him in a position of like, okay, everybody knows what happened. Everybody knows that Carlos Beltran there. What you're trying to sell and put your guy in a good position to do well, and you put him in that series. I would have avoided that series like the plague with Carlos Beltran.
It's the same concept as how Yes always used to put Kenny Singleton on the Orioles broadcast because he used to be a Baltimore Oriole.
Okay, how about the common sense department here coming in and saying that's different? That's different. Kenny Singleton and the Orioles in like 1975 is different than Carlos Beltran coming back and doing a Yes broadcast to Yankees fans for the Houston Astros. I don't quite understand that. And I will say, Cam Maben, I don't know if he's not growing on you, you're crazy because he's very good. He's getting very good.
You gonna use the O word?
Outstanding, even. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think he's raising Michael K's game a little bit and changing. They have a good dynamic. They're having fun.
Their dynamic has
Cam Maben is just a good teammate overall, just a great teammate. And even there was I forget where I saw it on Twitter or something when they were doing JP Sears. He said just perfect, and there was a camera shot of Michael K and Cameron Maben just like celebrating that he landed the pun. I thought it was hilarious. Cameron Maben's there. He elevates people's game.
No, Cameron Maben has been much better. He was clearly just nervous in the beginning of the season. I think we even said that. Like he
just needed reps.
He's nervous.
It's not even nerves. It's just
I think it's nerves. That's a huge step for him. You're being put on the Yes Network Yankees broadcast for never having called games before. Like that's a pretty big, jump feet first into the deep end type of move there. But with Beltran, there was like a 20-minute span over the weekend where I actually found him interesting, and it was when John Flaherty was actually talking hitting with him. And I think the problem that we're realizing with when it's K and Beltran, K is a broadcaster. He's a professional broadcaster. He only knows so much about like actual hitting mechanics and stuff like that. So he can only tee up questions, to a certain extent to Beltran. But when Flaherty, another former player, was there and they actually talked like hitting strategy, I thought Beltran had some interesting things to say because, Beltran was a freaking Hall of Fame talented player. So he actually had some cool things to say when it was Flaherty posing him some questions. Now I know not everyone likes Flaherty. People think Flaherty is dry, but like at least that for that inning and a half that they were talking hitting, I found interesting. I forget what I think it might have been Sunday's game or Saturday or Sunday's game.
So the thing with I agree to a point with so Flaherty does. The times that he's interesting is when he starts talking X's and O's. When he starts getting into the nitty-gritty of that stuff, because he knows a ton about it, and he can actually describe different situations really well. Beltran is a baseball guy, clearly not a broadcaster. So when you start talking baseball with him and you have two guys talking baseball that know it intimately, then you're going to get much better stuff because you'll get a little bit of, behind baseball at that point. I mean, like literally you're talking to one of the best hitters that has been out there. And when you put a catcher talking to him, these guys are freaks about the game as well. That's good. That's good content. That's good stuff because you can get really, really specific about certain things. But him trying to carry a broadcast, or at least trying to be a color guy on a broadcast, it's just it ain't working. It ain't working.
I agree, and it didn't even work when it was Cone in the booth with him. You'd think Cone, another baseball freak on the pitching side, might be able to tee him up with some questions. But the thing that Cone is so good about is speaking the X's and O's of baseball in a super relatable and interesting way. And so it's like he doesn't even need Beltran there to do it. And so, it didn't work. I don't know. How long do you think this lasts with Beltran in the booth? Like how long? I'm sure he has a contract.
There's a contract.
Yeah, but like
there's a contract for X amount of games probably. So they'll fill the contract. They'll and then and then probably move on.
Do you remember when they did the David Wells test, Yes Network? A couple years ago?
That was a very short test. He did it in spring training, and then he was taking like Meredith's role. He was down in like
no, he did Blue Jays games naturally because he used to be a Toronto Blue Jays. It's not hard to figure out how they do this stuff. Okay,
a little different context, different.
But Wells he was terrible, and Wells, you're not going to find a more interesting, charismatic former player than David Wells, but like not everyone can sit behind the microphone on a TV broadcast and carry it. And so I think that's, I think
you give that guy a bottle of Screwball whiskey and that's an interesting broadcast.
A live stream, not a real broadcast though, because you're not going to get the actual unfiltered Cone and Wells. You need just that on live stream or something. Sure.
Well, the whiskey will take care of it.
Well, the bleep button on the Yes Network won't allow it. Okay.
Fine, but yes, if I could get Cone and Wells doing a Manning vision, then with some bourbon, then hell yeah, those guys have stories for days.
By the way, is Kay and A-Rod doing that broadcast still? I've heard nothing about it. Like I've legitimately heard nothing about it. They're still doing it, Logan? Every
no, they only do like I think they did like they had like an 8-game like contract, 8 out of the however many Sunday night games. Okay. They did it this past Sunday. I had it on like in the background.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, it certainly wasn't getting the same push that the Manning cast was getting. All right, want to talk about a couple other things. So obviously after the Houston series, we were watching some injuries. IKF bunted the ball off of his hand. He missed Monday's game, but he was back in the lineup on Tuesday. And Gleyber, who rolled his ankle on Sunday, was out for Monday and Tuesday, but apparently he was also dealing with wrist soreness. And they were talking on yesterday that the wrist was actually more of a concern for him than the ankle. But Gleyber did play today and had a very Jekyll and Hyde time in the field because I thought he made a really nice play on a ball to his right. He flipped the ball kind of like Cano used to do, just like that sort of sidearm underhand flip throw across the diamond, and he got the guy. I was like, oh, that was a really nice play, Gleyber. And then he just completely whiffed on a ball to the chest on a throw from Donaldson that would have been a potential double play. So very up and down day in the field for Gleyber.
Yeah, and I mean the second one was just one of those stupid plays where you take your eye off the ball, ready to turn it, because it was a slow rolling, not slow. It was not a hard hit ball, so it would have been a bang bang play I think at first. So it would have been a tough double play to turn fully, but clearly he forgot the ball. He forgot to catch it first
on the ball, and that probably inflated Taillon's pitch count. Although Taillon wasn't exactly sharp. The first inning, 2 on, 1 out, and then Piscotty got the double. Andrews got the single. All of Taillon's pitches in the first inning were just meatballs, left up in the middle of the plate, getting hit. And then he was in trouble in the second inning again. Blake comes out and talks to him. Actually, I guess had a positive impact because he got the next 2 guys out. But like they were saying, like Maben was saying, like he's just searching. He's digging deep at the bottom of the bag, trying to figure this out right now.
Can I read? I just found this thread, and I feel like I have to read some of these Carlos Beltran things because it's hilarious.
For the last 10 minutes, I could tell you were not really engaged in this podcast. You were just looking for these Carlos Beltran things.
It hasn't been 10 minutes. It's been 2. But yes, it's hilarious. So I'm going to read them. And this is going to be, so the thread was, make an observation about the team, baseball, or anything, and I will reply in the style of Carlos Beltran. Aaron Judge is tall. That's part of why he looks so big at the plate. Jose Trevino is an all-star. Jose come to the Bronx and he playing catcher.
Oh, come on, that was just mean.
It's just so Joey Gallo is really struggling. Sometimes when you're struggling, it's all you can think. Maybe Joey Gallo got to think about when he's not struggling.
See, like Michael K would have been like, Carlos, Joey Gallo is really struggling. Yes, Michael, you're right.
Oh my gosh, hilarious. Anyway, I recommend go finding that thread on Reddit. It's very funny.
That's a tough position for Michael K though, and the other broadcasters to just sit there, basically on your own island.
You got to carry the entire thing
on your own island for 3+ hours.
You absolutely have to carry the entire thing. This is the beauty about having a very good season here. We can really dive into.
Oh yeah, we
can really dive into some other stuff here because this team is rolling.
I have actually a bone to pick about this. So we talked about IKF's defense last episode, and we had Ilya make up that graphic with a couple of quotes from us. I think your quote was about that you need to see more from IKF on defense, and mine was that he makes a lot of mistakes on simple plays. And we posted it on Instagram. And there were so many comments in the Instagram comments about people being like, oh, Yankees fans, they just need something to complain about. I feel like we have done a good job at not just complaining for complaining's sake, but actually trying to identify areas that this team we still think is deficient in or could get better in, and talk about them in like a constructive how do you get better at it way. I don't know. I feel like I've been making a conscious effort to not complain, because what the hell are you going to complain about when you have the best record in baseball? But by no means are we calling this team perfect. I mean, we've just talked about how they don't have a number 9 hitter when Joey Gallo is playing.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could argue that a number 9 hitter is not an effective player in that lineup anyway for any purpose. So you could always complain about a number 9 hitter. Usually,
not when it was Scott Brocious, 1998.
Okay, that's fair. The best team that's ever
that's what we're talking about here. They're on pace.
But you have to look at certain things. Otherwise, you're just giving flowers every single day, and they get plenty of that. But yeah, looking at certain areas, it's not. I don't call it complaining necessarily. This season's not really complaining. It's just observing.
Not complaining.
It's observing certain things that are less than ideal in situations, and if they're not called out. And look, that's it's part of the coaching too. The coaches are in a similar situation, are they not? Mm-hmm. They have to keep a positive atmosphere because the team is doing well, but you can't let your guard down in trying to improve as the season goes on. You got to make sure that people are accountable, even if it's for little mistakes across the board. So they're doing this in a positive way, and in a way to make the team better and individually make yourself better. Because as a player, you want that accountability, don't you? You want that coaching, even if you're having a great season. So, yeah. It's observations is what it is.
If we're not going to discuss those observations, then legitimately, what is the point of doing this podcast? Like, see you in October.
No, this podcast is made to complain.
See you in October if that's the case. Like I legit. Like I am genuinely curious to hear from our listeners. You could tweet me. Would you like us to just come on here and only talk about the things that they're doing well and only be happy about all of the wins? Like, we couldn't do an hour-long show on that. That would be 15 minutes max. Okay. Aaron Judge hit another home run today, Scott. He's still on pace to break Roger Maris's record. Giancarlo Stanton hit another home run today, Scott.
Giancarlo Stanton's timing definitely getting back on track here, looking good. Maybe we're going to see another hot streak from Stanton. That's what I'm looking for. Because we all know what happens when he's not on a hot streak. It's not as great.
Complain.
It's not as great.
Don't complain.
But the hot streak is like, best player in baseball hot streak.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's
when I got a question. When is Aaron Judge? When does he stop looking? He has not had an extended period of time where I don't have a lot of confidence that he's going to do something very positive. Every single time he steps up, and I know he's had a little bit of a dip recently.
Yes, yeah.
But even the dip, he's still. I'm seeing good at bats. We saw the other night where he got frustrated because, visibly frustrated, and it looked like he was jabbing with the umpire a little bit too, looking down and kind of talking back to him when Boone got ejected, or earlier in the game. But those low strikes, he was definitely getting frustrated. And
yeah, and that's when Boone got ejected.
He's having good at-bats. Even when he's struggling, he's having very good at-bats.
So since June 18th, 11 games, 47 plate appearances, he's hitting 163. It's pretty damn bad, right? Like with only a 613 OPS. Actually, that does not include today's game in which he hit the home run. So obviously those numbers are going to look a lot better. But his overall numbers are still in that span. Not very good.
Standing too close to Joey Gallo.
It's just the negativity is rubbing off. But you're right that you still have confidence that he's going to do something positive. And also last weekend he had 2 walk-offs. Okay. So like This is more proof that just like winning and having big moments overshadows anything else you do. Because when the most Yankees fans right now, oh, how has Aaron Judge been doing recently? Great. He had the walk-off home run on Sunday, and he had the walk-off on Thursday's game. Doesn't matter the fact that he didn't get hits in between those two moments.
Well, it's because the umpires are giving
Screwing
him
him.
a raw
They're
deal.
screwing him.
He's walking up, and he's not
injustice.
They're not respecting his size and his strike zone. Which is also a fact.
They're talking about it, the most called strikes outside of the strike zone this year and since 2017. And most of them are on that low strike, where the umpire just does not make the adjustment for the fact that his shins, Aaron Judge's knees are higher off the ground than the average player. Like that memo, has not made it to the email box of all the Major League Baseball umpires.
Does that top 10 list primarily have, people that are 6'5" and above, because umpires are not able to, it's like you can't make a left turn or can't make a right turn. You got to only call the strike on the low side, no matter who's up.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because it's easier to see at the letters, right? You can see that pitch more easily.
I have no confidence it's going to change at this point. If it hasn't changed by 2022, the man's been in the league since 2016. If it has not changed by now, it's not going to change.
I have no data on this at all, but what I would say is I would venture a guess that the low strike over the plate is probably the one missed the most, because of the vantage point.
Yeah.
For anybody, but the low strike period is probably the one missed
because
the most. And when you get a guy, when you have a guy that's bigger, that just gets the percentages go higher, because there's more territory to not see, not as far as where the umpire is.
That makes total sense. Side to side, much easier to identify if it's outside or on the plate. Up and down. Up is clearly easier.
Up's a hell of a lot
because
easier.
Your eyes are up. Yeah. Your eyes are not down. You don't know, like, you can maybe, the only way, this is where framing comes into play, right? If a catcher is good at framing, you're going to get a lot of low strikes, because if you can subtly not look like you're jabbing down and reaching at the ball, then you're gonna not pulling a GS, not pulling a GS. then you're gonna get a lot of strikes. If you're a Trevino and not an S word, then you're gonna get some of those low strike calls.
Yeah, for the record, you said his name in the last episode first. I want you for the record. I went back and listened. No, it's true, and I would be curious if part of the framing stats, if did they track that? Did they track part of the framing stats where in the strike zone these, I'm sure they do, right? Where these strikes are mostly called, and I would venture that the bottom.
Oh,
of the
you mean,
zone
do they
is
track
is a place that you can play
in the catcher framing metrics where they're getting, like, what quadrant they're getting the most,
where they're tricking the umpire the most?
Logan, could you search that? That's actually interesting. Yeah, what quadrant or what type of pitch is the catcher best at framing? It's interesting,
right? And if there is a quadrant that is being pulled into the strike zone more.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, I've actually, to credit Flaherty again, he's talked about this. It's really about the wrist turn, and in the subtle wrist turn, and how you receive the ball in the glove makes all of the difference to how the umpire is perceiving the path of the ball. And
yeah, I mean, it happens so bang bang. We see all the framing and all the strike calls in slow motion, but when you're in real time, then the manipulation of that glove, I could definitely see how that changes the look for the umpire.
Yeah. And the Yankees are going on the road. They've been so freaking good at home. They have a 10-game 4-city road trip. Chapman's expected back this week, maybe Thursday, maybe Friday. They have the makeup game in Houston, then 3 in Cleveland, 2 in Pittsburgh, day off, 4 games in Boston. Haven't played the Red Sox in forever. Then they come back home for 6 games before the All-Star break. But, I mean, this team has played so many home games in the first couple months. They are going to play a lot of road games in the second half of the season.
Yeah, that's another competition got better, has gotten better, and the amount of road games. I mean, they've been so dominant at home. You're seeing. So look, the Red Sox are getting some people back. Sale is coming back around the All-Star break. It seems like we haven't played them since last year. So those, I know they're still a couple touchdowns out of first place still, but that could tighten up. There's a lot of games with them, and those games on the road. I'm actually going to be at one of the series in August in Boston. So it'll be interesting to see how this team plays after the All-Star break.
Logan, you said you have some info.
Yeah,
on that
so I'm trying to make sense of this. So Trevino, by the way, best framing catcher in baseball still, but it looks like
you could just leave it at best catcher.
Okay. It looks like based on the league averages, 62.6% exactly for both zones 14 and 16. So zones 14 and 16 are the inner, inside and outside to a righty, like middle of the plate, but inside and outside. The low pitch, it looks like league average catchers get 50.7% of the time, which is kind of a lot. And Trevino ranks like in the top percentile in every zone, every single one.
So you're saying the zones that most catchers are getting are both sides of the plate in the middle.
They're wide,
in the middle,
right?
Not the top quadrant, not the bottom quadrant. They're wide. That actually surprises me. I feel like north-south would be way easier to trick an umpire than east-west.
Well, no. I think the South, you just the vantage point changes, so I think it's harder to probably trick. They have something in their head also where the ball travels, because they can't see the glove, whereas the left and right they can, and I think that's where that wrist turn
they would
comes
be
into play
more accurate left and right.
I don't know. I think when I think of a catcher framing, I think of them being able to really pull the inside and outside strikes back. The up down is a lot more difficult. Yeah. They actually missed the high pitch less than they missed the low pitch. So.
All right, so I wanted to for the segment today, I wanted to just do like a stats deep dive on a few different areas of the team, few different players, as I was just perusing Fangraphs as we were discussing in our chat this week. One thing is that I noticed Aaron Judge has improved his strikeout rate every year since 2019 and pretty much every year since he was in the league. So 2016, we all know he struck out 44% of the time. The next season, 30.7%. 2018, 30.5%. 2019, 31.5%. 2020, 28.1%. 2021, 25%. And then this year, 25.2%. So the last two seasons, which he's been healthy the entire time, he's at about a 25% strikeout, which if you compare it to, say, 2017 to 2019, which is his first few full years in the league, he was at 30%. So he's shaved about 5% off.
Yeah, I mean the biggest difference when he first came up, 44%.
I mean that was a different player entirely.
Second half,
like not even the same human.
Totally different guy. I mean, yeah, he was it was damn close to a 50% clip. He changed his swing. That was when he redid his swing though in that offseason as well. Is he went and made a whole bunch of adjustments so that he's staying longer through the zone and he's able to make more contact. And yeah, what's interesting about Aaron Judge too, and we don't have the numbers in front of us right now, but I've looked them up in the past. When you look at every single every progression he's made from the minor leagues up as well, you see that adjustment in all of the numbers, in the overall numbers for him. Like he struggles when there was some struggle when he first gets to the next level, and then he figures it out. And then there's a little struggle, and then he figures it out. It's like he's always constantly making those adjustments as he was progressing as a player. And now we're seeing the culmination of that. It's just a very comfortable guy with a swing that he believes in and has just a ton of confidence, and knows, and he just owns his approach now. He knows what he's going to do walking in there, and for a guy like that, that's just huge. He's made the mechanical changes that he needs to make for the most part, I think, and now he's just executing at a very high level. And every time, as long as he's healthy and those reps keep going, you're going to see this guy just be lethal as he's going, because he's got so much damn confidence, and he knows that the bat path is going to stay in that zone. So he doesn't have to time it perfectly, and he will still make good contact. He will still barrel up a ball. And whether it goes to left field and a pull and he's hitting it into the bleachers, or, you know, he barely gets one, but he's able to keep it fair in the right field line. That's what keeping that swing path there as long as possible through the zone. He's able to do damage in so many different ways. It's really impressive.
The adjustment at every level is another reason why he was a 25-year-old rookie and not a 21 or 22-year-old rookie that just blew through the minors and let his talent.
Yeah, it took him a little time.
So to kind of reinforce that point, so if you look at there's a stat called run value. It's the run impact of an event based on the runners on base, outs, balls, and strikes in account. So just for argument's sake, against the slider, Judge in 2017 had a -4 run value. So that's 0 is league average. This year he has a 12. Right. So you could see that, you know, just on sliders, you know, when he came up, they started, you know, really down and away, the whole deal. That's how they exploited him. Now look,
him. Yeah.
Well, he's spitting on it now. Yeah. That's the other thing. He's hitting them when he has a hell of a lot more plate discipline too, which you know affects that K percentage. But you know that slider outside the zone, all those young guys were swinging and missing at them.
What young guys you talking about, Scott?
All of those young guys at the time were swinging and missing on those. Those
like 20 straight curveballs from McCullers in the ALCS or something.
Yeah, and now you're not seeing him against it because he's not fooling him anymore. He's got a hell of a lot more plate discipline. He knows the approach going up there. And yeah, he can stay on those pitches longer too and go the other way. That's that Cam Maben middle of the field approach. Going the other way is part of that. And those are a lot of those mechanical changes were exactly for that purpose. So he's just an impressive. Every time I'm watching him, it's just more impressive because of you know, the sheer size of that man and the things that he can do with such, you know, easy motion, just fluid motion. It's incredible.
Some of the numbers people might say in 2017 he was having a better season. Like his weighted on base average in 2017 was 430. Right now it's 387. His excuse me, no, sorry, wrong. It's 413. I was looking at the wrong season. So it's a lot closer than I thought. It's was 430 in 2017. It's 413 right now. My point still stands. Looking at him day to day, watching at bat to at bat, he's a much better player. As good as he was, as freakish as of a season as he had in 2017, he is so much better of a player right now. This we're watching his prime. This is I mean, obviously this is
for sure
fully polished Aaron Judge. Might never see a better season from him. Not saying next year he's going to suck, but this might be the pinnacle, which is obviously freaking fantastic.
Well, and I think that having a full season the year before, a full healthy season as well, is just, you know, one, giving him the confidence that yes, he can stay healthy, and just the amount of at bats, the amount of pitches that he saw last year you're seeing all of that pay off right now.
The other thing I want to mention on Judge, apparently we got to the bottom of what he said on Sunday to Meredith. It was the quote best planet on the team. And apparently he misspoke and meant to say best team on the planet. But we actually had, did you see this in our Facebook chat yesterday about trying to figure out the Yankees celebration? So we had, I gotta find it. Speaking of going back and looking at things. So we had Justin, who has been trying to figure out what the Yankees celebration is. He said, I just figured out the on-base celebration. Aaron Judge said that they were the best planet on the team. Their celebration is that they make a circle, then a T with their arms. Best planet on the team is their celebration. And then he put the Pepe Sylvia Always Sunny meme that he cracked the code. I don't know. It still, to me, sounded like he said best player on the team. And that's what I'm sticking with.
I mean, look, it was so clear. It was so, whatever it was he misspoke in whatever way. Because Aaron Judge would never purposely say that he's the best player on the team unless someone drugged that man and gave him a truth serum.
The other next stat deep dive is about Anthony Rizzo's batting average on balls in play, BABIP, which was mentioned on the broadcast. This year it's at 198, which is so much lower than his career total of 279. He is being shifted on 82.7% of the time. which isn't top in the league, but it's pretty damn close to top. There's only about 20 players who get shifted on more than him. If you compare that to last year, he had 76% shift. So still a hell of a lot, not as much as this year. But his batting average on balls in play is awful, and actually contributing to why his batting average of 220 is so low. I was trying to think, like, is it just the shifting that is causing this? Is this bad luck? Is it playing in Yankee Stadium for a full season, which obviously is going to be a different park factor than Wrigley Field? Although I'm pretty sure Wrigley Field is also like pretty offensive field. I'm not quite sure on that, but what do you make of this terrible batting average on balls in play?
I mean, yeah, I think it's a little bit of a Mark Teixeira situation here where he's got to hit it over the shift. He's got to hit it over, and that's what he's looking to do. Because I mean, he's a dead pull hitter. That's
why he
what
stands
he
on
does.
top of the plate.
And they are obviously exploiting that and shifting over. So I mean, this is one of the advanced stats that I do love, because I think it does tell a really good story of what's happening. For if someone is unlucky, you can kind of use this and like a hard hit percentage, I think, to gauge what's happening when the ball is hitting the bat, and then what's happening in the field on that ball. And with him, yeah, very, very unlucky, or I don't even know if you can call it unlucky, because of they're intentionally shifting. So it's actually not unlucky.
Joey Gallo's not getting unlucky anymore. It's just defense knows what to do. Okay.
Yeah, they stand there with their thumb up their ass and wait for him to strike out.
It's like, are you unlucky if you keep running the ball into the back of right into the defensive line, or did the defense just know what you can do and can't do anything else? It's like, no, eventually you got to change, or else you can't just chalk it up to bad luck.
Right. And Anthony Rizzo's approach is one, make a little bit more contact and hit it over the shift. And again, another guy who has fantastic at bats. But yeah, interesting to see what if they do get rid of the shift next year. If that is a thing that is happening, I'm very interested to see how he does with that. That's
a perfect example of the shift. People always saying, "Oh, Joey Gallo is gonna love no shifts." I don't think Joey Gallo is gonna really benefit that much, because he doesn't make any contact. Anthony Rizzo right now is batting 220. I don't know what he would bat without a shift, but it's going to be a hell of a lot higher than 220. And Rizzo's still having a good season. He's got a 220 batting average, 333 on base, 492 slugging. He's got a 134 WRC plus. He is walking 11% of the time and striking out 17% of the time. He's having a good season, but without shifting, maybe his batting average is 265 or 275 or something like that.
Wait, what's his K percentage is 17? Yeah, it's pretty consistent throughout. I mean, you look
his
back,
career average is 15.8.
His time in Chicago, yeah, okay. So it's a little higher, but not much. That's interesting. His first season, actually, what a big difference. He was at 30%. Limited games here, but with the Padres. Forgot he was drafted. Was with the Padres organization.
Well, he was drafted. Wasn't he originally drafted by the Red Sox? And then traded to the Padres?
Yes, he was.
Yeah. I don't know what the trade was back when he was in the Red Sox system, but yeah. All right, the last stat deep dive is the most important one, and it is the Yankees rotation numbers, which have not looked good recently. Last 3 weeks, overall, the Yankees starting rotation has a 4.29 ERA. That is 21 games start, 113 innings pitched. We've seen guys struggle up and down. Luis Severino has had his struggles. Cortez and Taillon specifically have probably looked the worst out of any of them. And it's such a juxtaposition to what they were in the 3 weeks prior to this stretch. And we looked up what the numbers were, and I used the Twins series as the cutoff for two reasons. Number one, that was the time when we marked, like, now they're going to start facing better offenses in this tough stretch in June. And number two, it was also the same date when we recorded the Yankees starting pitching renaissance episode. So take that for what you will. But in the 3 weeks prior to the Twins series, the Yankees starting pitching was unhittable. 129 and 2/3 innings to a 2.29 ERA. It was they were unhittable. Like not exact, like we keep joking. No hitters routinely into the 5th, 6th, and 7th inning.
Yeah. I mean, it seemed like it was still happening. I still think there was a week there that was out of.
It was the last
out
week
of
in
this
May.
world.
It was when they played the Angels, and like everyone was just like, "Oh, you're gonna throw
What
a
is
no hitter. I'm
happening
gonna throw a
here?"
no hitter too."
Yeah, and then all of a sudden we're getting no hit on the other
Oh, wow,
side. of the
Rizzo
ball.
was traded for Adrian Gonzalez. That was part of that trade. That's
a
a
big
huge
Was
trade. Also,
he was traded with Casey Kelly, Raymond Fuentes, and a player to be named later to the San Diego Padres in exchange for Adrian Gonzalez.
Adrian Gonzalez was an all-star first baseman at the time. And I guess, props to the Padres for getting back another future all-star first baseman. Not props for them for not keeping him in their organization, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, that's a huge trade.
That is a huge trade. The and then he was flipped to the Cubs from the year
For
after that.
Andrew
I guess.
Kastner.
Oh, boy.
Andrew Kashner, who ended up on the Red Sox at some point too. It was dog shit. It was on the Orioles. It was dog shit. He was a bust and a half.
A fun rabbit hole, I don't know if either of you have done this or any listeners out there have done this, is Baseball Reference has like draft logs of everyone, like every team's pick, to just go through and see like what teams took what players. And then you're like, oh, this name I've never heard, this name I never heard, Anthony Rizzo. You're like, God damn, like if you could just go back and be that team that was like one spot away from the All-Star, just like slap yourself in the face and take that guy instead.
That's like
it's
Seattle
a fun
had
rabbit
two
hole.
chances to take Mike Trout and didn't, I believe.
Well, yeah, because didn't Mike Trout go in the compensation round or something like that? So like every team had a chance to take him, I thought. I don't think Mike Trout was like a top 5 pick, if I remember correctly.
I mean, Judge was what, 17, 18?
Yeah, Judge,
Trout was
Judge was also
25. I
compensation
think
round,
Judge
thought.
was 30s. Let me look.
Yeah.
Was he third?
Judge was
Anyway.
32nd.
So 32nd.
32nd.
Yeah. So it's certainly the starting rotation, as we talked about. Maybe they're starting to get some guys up to take spot starts. We saw JP Sears do that, but the numbers are pretty stark difference. The rate numbers I don't have them in front of me, but the biggest differences were that the walks per 9 innings were up almost 1.5, and the home runs per 9 inning were up a full home run per 9 inning when you just look at overall numbers.
Yeah, and but a couple interesting things here when you're looking at are these equal games, right? They're equal or close to equal games,
well,
I guess.
it's 21 games versus 20 games start.
So the other thing to look at too is that even with the struggles, Montgomery, I'm doing this in real time here. The innings aren't crazy different.
Well,
so
overall,
you can also see
113
that
versus 129. They had 129 innings, 129 innings in 20 starts, and now 113 in 21 starts. That's a decent difference.
Well, you're also adding a few more people in there too. But if you look at, just go. Tyone is the biggest one, 32 innings in the first in the good chunk here, in the good sample here, and then 20 innings. So I mean that's a guy that's been 100% affected. You look at Nestor. Nestor's at 20 innings, and during the good stretch. I'm sorry, during the good stretch,
20 innings,
he was at,
basically
20 innings,
and now 19.
19.
Yeah.
So it's not Jordan Montgomery 24.1 and 25. So you're seeing even Garrett Cole 22 and 28.
Tyone's the biggest difference.
Tyone's definitely the biggest difference. Severino is at 17 and 20. So 3 inning difference. So I think that what that also says is that Boone's definitely letting these guys work through some things as well. So you see that bloated ERA. Part of it's also because they're keeping them in there. Boone's keeping these guys in there to I mean, today was a good example. Tyone threw 5 innings. He was struggling. Montgomery the other night was struggling. And still, was able to. They're getting through some innings still, and they're not pulling them too early, which I like. I do. Let them go through these struggles. Let them figure this out. Let them get to a point where they're feeling confident to get out of these struggles, because that's going to happen.
That was a super weird Montgomery start. All of the runs he allowed came in the 3rd inning, and he ended up pitching into the 7th.
Yeah. Right, and I mean, we've seen that time and time again, actually, and Boone has given them that leash to work through these things, and more often than not, they're coming out on the positive side. They're pitching much better, so I like it. It's such a vast difference from what we've seen over the last few years, where you're getting a hook in the third, fourth, fifth inning every single time, not even letting these guys, compete with a third time through the lineup, and now they're able to do that. And I think that's another reason why in August, early September, is we're going to start to see more of these, this sixth man type rotation where, there's missing starts, missing some innings. I think we're going to see a difference after the All-Star break.
Cole has been still pretty good. Montgomery's been pretty good, and Severino's been so-so in the recent stretch. It's really Cortez and Taillon are the biggest differences.
Yeah.
They both of them were unhittable prior to this stretch.
Right. And, what goes up must come down unless you're one of the I don't think we expect that for Garrett Cole, but he's established himself as one of the, top 3 pitchers in the league. These other guys, you got to believe that there's going to be a bit of a market correction with what they're doing. You just now are looking for that next adjustment, that next level of adjustment to see if they can get back to, closer to what they were in the first, part of the first half, the first quarter of the season. Or even into June. So it'll be interesting to see how these do. I'm looking at Matt Blake now too, and how he's making any adjustments to these guys. But the things that he's doing and tinkering with, I have a lot of confidence in him to figure some stuff out. Even with the guys that he's bringing up, like looking at what JP Sears is doing and the things that they're working through with the depth guys. Be very interesting.
So to wrap up the draft conversation we're having, Trout was taken with a compensation pick by the Angels. Compensation pick from the Yankees.
Yes, it
was. Was it for signing Teixeira? Yeah. That's why I thought he was in the compensation round, but it was so the rounds must have worked differently then. You just got a pick if he was taken 25th, you said? Or
so
no, that could have still been a compensation
because it
round.
says Mike Trout was the Angels' first pick from Yankees as compensation for free agent Mark Teixeira. And then when you scroll down, number 40, which is just weird, they picked Tyler Skaggs, which was the supplemental pick for loss of free agent Mark Teixeira. Me either.
Yeah, I don't get that. Anyway, I don't know. Take that for what you will. That's gonna.
So they get 2 picks. They get one from the Yankees because the Yankees signed him.
Oh,
and
maybe it was 2
because
picks.
they lost him. Yeah.
Okay.
So you get one for losing the player, but you also get one from the team.
Right. Well, I guess the qualifying offer system might be different now, but
it is different. It was not the same then.
Yeah. Right.
So, anyway, anything else you want to talk about, Scott, or should we wrap this up?
Let's wrap this up, man. Another sweep, another series W. It's a good day.
Yeah. A road test that will definitely a road trip that will definitely test them, I think.
Yeah, we got the for sure. It's definitely gonna test them, and the random Houston game is just very weird.
Yeah,
but is what it is. Thank you, Lockout.
All right, submit your mailbag questions for next episode. Next week coming up, we also have the GM episode, which we'll be recording. I think we're recording that Tuesday, and we'll be recording the episode after the Cleveland series. That'll come out. I don't know if it'll come out Sunday or Monday. There is no game Monday on the 4th of July. No one's going to be listening to podcasts on the 4th of July anyway. I don't know. Maybe if you're at a barbecue, just put the podcast on for your family. We'll talk to you guys in a few days.